Hey guys, and welcome back to another video on libertarian election predictions. I'm sorry guys, I haven't been uploading as much. As you know, AP exams are right around the corner and I'm taking some pretty tough AP classes. So, because to prepare for those, I have to spend a lot of time on that, and unfortunately some developments in my channel has been lagging, but I hope after those exams, I can start uploading a little more. And I think it's been 5 weeks since my most recent upload. And by the way, you guys haven't been watching that much. So please, guys, I recommend that you watch that. It shows you a lot of alternate history on how the political climate changed so much. And in fact, this is what we're going to cover today. So we're going to see 2006 Democrats versus 2010 Democrats, seeing how they fare with each other. And remember, 2006 was a very different political climate. It's not like today, where it's very partisan, hyper fighting, and you can see a lot of the states were extremely different in 2006. For example, like Ohio was a very huge swing state when in 2006, but like now, Ohio is more of a defining Republican state. But anyway, much of this industrial heartland used to be relatively Democratic leaning. Even West Virginia used to be pretty blue up till like 2012. And then I'd say Obama was like the death blow to Democrats in West Virginia. But anyway, guys, that's not the point. We're not going to analyze individual states, but we're going to look at how the 2006 Democrats would have done relative to today. We can draw some comparisons from today, obviously. So, obviously, you guys probably know the margins at this point, so we know safe is anything above 15 points for either party. Likely is between 6 to 15. Is 6 to 15. Lean is 1 to 5, from 1 to 6 points. And then tilt is less than 1%. So let's get into this video. So let's see. In Alaska, 2006. Whoops. I accidentally clicked on Alabama. Sorry guys, I'm using a second device, by the way. So let's start off with Alabama. We know Alabama was relatively close, only 10 points for the GOP. And oops. And I can definitely say 2006 was a Democratic wave year, so you guys may see the margins are a lot closer, but even then, it's still astonishing to see Alabama only 11 points in favor of the GOP. Now, if we move on to the state of Alaska, Don Young still won by a healthy 16 points. So one of the few times Alaska votes to the right of Alabama. Now we go to Arizona. Arizona was pretty red back then too. It was 9 points in favor of the GOP. That's quite large. So that's pretty much almost on par with Alabama. It just shows you how much the political climate has changed today. Now thinking of a 9-point GOP win for GOP in Arizona is almost unthinkable today. I mean, I think it's now possible given the circumstances that the country's facing, like rampant inflation, runaway increase in prices. And we all know that the political anger towards the Democrats is extremely high. So I don't think a 9-point GOP win for Arizona is impossible, but I don't think we'll see something like this. But I think Arizona will still considerably back the GOP by a relatively good margin. Arkansas, interestingly, was a safe Democratic state in 2006. If you look at the House vote, Arkansas Democrats got 59.8, very close to 60% of the vote. That is unthinkable today, considering, here, let me open the 2020 results. You guys can't believe how Arkansas used to be actually Democrat, even after Clinton left. It was really Obama that started that trend. So it's really, really a testament to see how Arkansas was extremely close. And even in Arkansas, I think 2 districts were competitive, and Mike Ross, I think, won by a very large margin. He did end up losing to Asa Hutchinson, who is, I think, is the current governor of Arkansas. Well, let's see, California. 2006 California was relatively close. Only 16 points for the GOP and Democrats. Like, I mean, nowadays we see Democrats winning California by like a 2-1 margin. Went back 15 years ago, that was not even the case. I mean, California then was in the transition, in transitioning from a likely blue state to a safe blue state. And I can't believe how much the political climate. Because remember, guys, back in 2006, I was what, 3 years old in 2006, and I know some of you guys were probably not born yet. But I was, I didn't watch the 2006 obviously because I was only 3 years old. But still, it's just a testament to see how much has changed, even if we didn't physically experience it. But I'm sure if you go on YouTube and watch some very old videos, you might be able to see the midterms. Although I'm not sure. You guys may have to do research. And Colorado was actually very solid for the Democrats, even though Colorado was relatively Republican in 2006. So Connecticut's always, excuse me, guys. Connecticut's always has been a Democratic state since at least since the Bill Clinton years, and has remained. And funny, Arkansas and Connecticut were comparable in margins. Arkansas was almost 20 points, and Connecticut was about 21 points in favor of the Democrats. I mean, it just shows you how much strength the Democrats lost in the South, and the Appalachia in the Midwest, and where we see Democrats gaining strength here and along the Sun Belt, along the southwestern part of the Sun Belt, and much of the Northeast, where they're already maximized at that point. And quite surprisingly, Delaware was Republican by 19 points. Just 19 points Republican. Like, guys, this isn't the presidential election. This is 2008 is the next one, but this is the 2006 midterms. Seeing how Democrats and Republicans would have faced off. But it's interesting to see how Delaware voted GOP by almost 20 points. I don't think today we'll see something like that ever again. Well, I do think Delaware will get close at some point, but I don't think we'll see 20-point wins for the GOP there. Even Florida was 15 points in favor of the GOP. Even in a pretty terrible year for the GOP, Florida was a safe Republican state. Which I find super, super, super interesting. Super duper interesting. See how Florida was a safe Republican state. Well, granted, I mean, many of its candidates were unopposed, but even then, I think Florida 13 was pretty competitive in 06. Now, 2006, Georgia was 9 points. Almost par with Alabama. It's just how much, how things have changed so much. And Hawaii, we know Hawaii, I don't need to look up. That's probably already a safe margin to begin with. That's already safe to begin with. And even Idaho was relatively close. I think one of their districts was relatively close and was relatively competitive. Illinois, I think Illinois was safe, right? Yep, Illinois was 16 points in favor of the Democrats. So Democrats have broken the 100 mark. And even Indiana was quite surprisingly very close. Indiana was extremely close in 2006. This shows you guys, how much politics has changed since 2006. Even Iowa was not very competitive. Wait, they're showing a GOP win for Iowa. Oh yeah, when Dave Loebsack, one of their incumbents, had a competitive race, but Funny how Iowa was lean Republican and more Republican than Indiana was. Than Indiana. Iowa was more Republican than Indiana, quite surprisingly. And then we know Kansas was obviously safe, even though one of their incumbents did lose, but Kansas was still nonetheless safe. Actually, it was not safe. Quite surprisingly, not safe. This is just demonstrably, guys. Like I could talk about this all day, but I don't have all day. Kentucky was extremely competitive. Like 48.8, 48%. Just 11,000 votes separated like the Democrats and Republicans overall. Just Kentucky was not even as red as it was today. Even though Kentucky was only like 15 points for Bush, which was like interesting, but Louisiana was like a relatively solid win for the GOP. So, but it's a testament to see how the GOP did well, how different both parties were. In Maine, even all of Maine was solid for the Democrats. Excuse me. Even Maryland. I mean, I think Maryland's always has been a Democratic bastion since the 90s, at least. Massachusetts Democratic bastion. And even Michigan was a good 8 points for the Democrats. I don't think we'll see like an 8 point Michigan Democratic win in Michigan, at least in recent times. I don't think we'll see. But even Minnesota was relatively close, about the same margin. And then we have Mississippi. Even Mississippi was relatively close. Mississippi was like, I think, 7 points for the Democrats. So you can clearly, guys, see that the Deep South was more competitive back then. In the Missouri, 2006, Missouri was relatively close too. And then Montana, I think Montana was, yeah, Danny Rehberg, I think, was the representative at the time. And we have Nebraska, which I think is solid, actually. Yeah, it was quite almost solid for the entire Democrats. For it was like likely. Although I think the first district was safe. The first district was safe for the GOP, and then second one was likely, and then the third one was even the third district was not safe. Even Nebraska 3, which backs Trump, made 80%, And even, in a very strong year for the Democrats, Nebraska 3 was somewhat competitive. The Nevada 2006, Democrats crushed the GOP by 5 points there. And then New Hampshire, I think New Hampshire was Democrat. Yeah, it was. 5 points. New Jersey. New Jersey was only 14 points for the Democrats. So that makes it into the very high likely column. But seeing a blue New Jersey and a red Delaware kind of gives me nostalgia. And then I think New Mexico, I think, was relatively good for the Democrats. Yeah. About 11 points. And then New York. I can't tell the popular vote, but I think New York was relatively safe. It was easily safe. But I think a big shocker is 2006 North Carolina was 7 points in favor of the Democrats. 7 in favor of the Democrats. North Carolina. And even North Dakota was a solid blue. North Dakota being a solid blue. Not electing a Democrat. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see that again. We're never going to see that again, guys. Even Ohio being 5 points for the Democrats. I don't think we'll ever see that again. Oklahoma, even Oklahoma was relatively closer in 2006, 15 years ago. And Oregon, I think Oregon was safe, easy. Yeah, it was easy for the Democrats there. And in Pennsylvania, 2006, massive 12 points. And of course, the Democrats have officially won the election, have won the 2006 elections. I mean, granted, 2006 was a big Democratic wave year. It was a Democratic wave. I mean, it was Bush's 6th year. Bush was extremely unpopular back then. He was extremely unpopular. And then South Carolina, I think South Carolina was only 12 points for the Democrats. So the entire Deep South was likely for the Democrats, for the GOP, likely. Nowadays, Alabama and Mississippi would be safe for the GOP now. And even South Dakota was a blue state. I mean, this is the House vote, guys, not the presidential vote. I guarantee you many of these states, like Arkansas, North Dakota, and South Dakota, would not go blue on the presidential level. That's quite interesting. Yeah, I'd say, guys, I think Tennessee would be really interesting. Tennessee was 4 points for the Democrats there, which is really, really interesting. I don't think we'll ever see that type of Tennessee ever again. Never see. We will never see that. Even Texas was 8 points for the GOP, so that's likely. The big old Lone Star State. Then Utah. Even Utah had a Democratic representative back then. Ooh, Utah, interestingly, less than 9 points. Less than 9 points. I know Wyoming was extremely competitive. Like, if you look at the House there, even Vermont was likely. The Republicans had at least some strength in Vermont. And then DC is safe, so we can easily say that. And then we have Virginia. Virginia was more of a red state, and indeed it was a red state. 12 points for the GOP. I don't think we'll ever see a 12-point GOP win in Virginia, at least in the near future. We're not going to see that ever again. In Washington, 2006, Washington was, oh my god, 64. And then now we have West Virginia. Sorry guys, I'm extremely tired. I got up quite early today. Even West Virginia was 17 points. Democrats, 17 points. Imagine seeing West Virginia voting to the left of New Jersey. Very, very interesting. And then we have Wisconsin. Which I think was GOP, narrowly. Funny how we see a Democratic West Virginia, but a Republican Wisconsin. That is extremely interesting. I don't think we'll ever see that again. And I think Wyoming was extremely close too. Like, interestingly, extremely close. So guys, this was the map in 2006. Democrats win with 310. Then the GOP's 228. But even then, the GOP had some states didn't have many of these southern states solid. Whereas the Democrats were not even solid in some northeastern states too. And back when Democrats had the strength. But I think Republicans did quite well in Arizona. Despite the fact that today Arizona is very, very competitive. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm not making that you guys have to hear me like this, but I'm just trying my best. I have a lot of work to do. I just wanted to take some time and make this video for you guys. So, guys, I can't believe this was 15 years ago, and I believe this will give you guys so much nostalgia. Nostalgia on how politics has changed so much in the last 15 years, and how Democrats and Republicans used to be dominant. I mean, just looking at a lighter red Indiana and a darker red Virginia just gives me chills. Considering this was the climate back in '06, for sure. Like, this was the climate back in '06. Anyway, guys, this will be it for today's video. Tomorrow, we'll be doing the 2010 elections and seeing what's the difference from 2006. Anyway, guys, please keep up the views. We are at 78 subscribers as at the moment, and I can't believe that the one I published in December, at the very end of the year, actually in 2021, got 4.5k views. Guys, thank you so much for that. And I've not expected you guys to like that video so much, but as you know, some things are just unpredictable. And guys, please subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Hopefully it can be sometime soon, guys, although I have no guarantee when it'll come out. Anyway, guys, Libertarian election predictions out.